Welcome to the What's in Store podcast from IDDBA.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a very special edition of the IDDBA What's in Store podcast. I'm Whitney Atkins, Vice President of Marketing and Membership for the association. I'm excited today to bring you this special edition, and I'm going to turn the mic over in a few minutes to David Hoff, President and CEO of the association. Each quarter, David will host a podcast with leaders across the industry and his colleagues to bring more information about what's happening in the industry at that time, what we can look forward to the future, and really talk about the industry as a whole and really how we go forward. So with that, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce David Hoff. David is President and CEO of the IDDBA. David has led the direction and future and strategy for the association for the last 2 years. David actively supports the industry through participation in advisory groups and as a keynote speaker at key events. Prior to coming to IDDBA, he advanced through a tenured career at KVAT Food Stores and their Food City brand, where he served as Vice President of Food Service and Starbucks operations for the retail grocer's 158 locations. David has always had a passion for food and has served as the executive chef for the esteemed Virginia Tech University. David also served our country as part of the United States Marine Corps, and David currently lives in Waunakee, Wisconsin with his wife and daughter. Our very special guest today with David is Carmela Serebryany. Carmela is involved in several food industry initiatives and philanthropic endeavors. She is a member of the Board of Directors of Food, Health and Consumer Products Canada, and of the Grocery Foundation. Carmela is the chair of the Board of Directors of the International Dairy-Deli-Bake Association and a member of the CME Women in Manufacturing Working Group. She's also director of the board of the Duke Heights BIA and the vice chair of the board of the Emory Village BIA. Finally, she is the director of the board of the Humber River Hospital Foundation. And after having completed 6 years each as the Director of Boards of the YWCA Toronto and the UJA of Greater Toronto, Carmela has also previously served as the co-chair of the GTA Food and Beverage Cluster, as a member of the Board of the Toronto Food Incubator, and as a member of the Industrial Manufacturing Program Advisory Committee for the City of Toronto. Carmela currently lives in Toronto with her husband and 3 children. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to turn today's mics over to both David and Carmela.
Well, thank you, Whitney. Top of the morning, Carmela, and welcome.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Whitney. Whenever I hear those bios, it feels a lot more important, like living your obituary. I feel like our lives are way more simple and fun than they sound.
And in between all that, you're a proud mommy of 3. Lots going on in Carmela's world.
Oh, yeah. That's fun of all, as you know, David.
Yeah. Well, I have to share one fun fact and give you just a minute or two before we jump straight into the questions. We've known each other for quite a few years now, both through the IDDBA as well as a little bit of business partnership here and there. But I learned one fun fact about you that I'm not sure I knew. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Upper Crust, and more importantly, how did you go from becoming a lawyer practicing law to peddling your delicious croissants globally?
My story is not as exciting as the foundation of Upper Crust, so I'll start there. Probably is the more interesting part. But, and you know me, I'm not one for the spotlight. I love to put everybody else ahead. But
yes.
We came to this country, my family and I, as refugees, actually, from the former Soviet Union, with nothing, basically. And my dad worked odd jobs until he became a partner in Upper Crust and later in Fiera Foods, our sister company. And him and his partner worked very, very hard to build this company up from 5 employees to about 2,500, wow. From 5,000 square feet of rental space to over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space that we own. And we're still growing. And I never felt the pressure to go into the family business. I kind of did my own thing. I got a business degree. I worked in management consulting. And then I went to law school and worked in mining securities, which is very niche. And then I went out on my own doing corporate work, and my dad was very astute probably and came to me for special projects over the years to help out until he became about 80 to 90% of my practice.
Wow.
And then we had a coming to Jesus moment, and I've been here for the last 12 years, and it's been really exciting. Food is so visceral. We're so passionate about taste and quality and supporting our customers and their consumers. So it's a really exciting career, actually.
That is an exciting story. And I thank you for sharing with the listeners a little bit about that. I thought it was important you do that.
Thank you, David.
Well, we've got just a handful of questions. So this is really designed to give us an opportunity to talk about what's going on in the industry with some of the key companies and leaders like yourself. So I'm going to jump into the first one that really I know your company is very passionate about, and that's talking just a little bit on market trends and consumer preferences. So what are some of the consumer trends that are shaping the bakery manufacturing industry, Carmela, and how is your company staying ahead of that curve?
So we're very fortunate to have a wonderful VP of Business Development and Marketing and R&D, Sean O'Shaughnessy, and we have an amazing R&D team that we try new product every week. It's part of our DNA, and we are always looking to stay at the forefront of key trends. So one key trend that we are seeing is that retailers are adding freshly baked products to their variety. In recent years, in-store bakery operations were characterized by a drive to simplify. It's never easy to get good labor, and especially good bakers and bakery labor. So this approach is rapidly shifting as consumers are demanding more and retailers are seeing opportunities. Bakery is actually becoming a big differentiator. Croissants, buns, and rolls are driving sales growth. This is in contrast to previous buying behavior of singular large bread loaves, which are less practical for today's consumer. The bakery has an important role to play in supporting consumers looking to find value by sourcing meals from home while still balancing desires for physical and mental health and personal indulgence. We at Upper Crust continue to innovate with purpose in high consumption categories like breads, rolls, bagels, and croissants with back-of-house operational solutions that do not require the proof box. This enables our retail partners to bake and deliver the highest quality products possible with minimal skill and labor on the premises, and that's a significant differentiator. Retailers who focus on baking fresh daily and delivering high-quality products will continue to win in the marketplace. It brings consumers into retail spaces because bakery is visceral, smell, touch, feel. It's often an impulse indulgence purchase. We're getting to key trend number 2, new flavors and functionality. Fusion of flavors, combining the familiar with something novel, is an ideal way of insisting consumers try exotic flavors. At Upper Crust, for example, we craft pastries with the pairing of peach and mango in our fillings. Crafting products with turmeric, brown butter, hot honey and maple, pistachio are examples of flavors fueled by social media, and we challenge ourselves to deliver unexpected, inspired flavor combinations. This effort is a continuation of our history of delivering hybrid cross-category format mashups, such as the bagel croissant, bagel dough rolled in the shape of a croissant, croissants and donuts to make the croissant donut, and croissant and brioche to make our new brioche rolls. Fun fact, we were the largest manufacturer of the croissant donut, or the Corona, at its peak. That brings us to key trend number 3. In-store bakery as a breakfast destination. You know, a lot of retailers are doing a lot in HMR too and signing up with different home delivery services. So this is an important trend.
Yep.
Bakery continues to gain in the breakfast occasion segment as consumers facing increased financial pressures choose to make meals at home. This trend began during the pandemic and continues to be a critical growth opportunity for the in-store bakery. Croissants are a top breakfast bakery sales driver, along with bagels, muffins, cinnamon rolls, Danish, which are now not only consumed in the AM day part, but as snacks in the PM day part. Who doesn't crave a decadent all-butter croissant smeared with any filling of your choice?
We're all getting hungry here in the studio now.
I hope that all of that was a good summary of the key trends that we're looking at.
It was, and thank you. And I think just coming out of retail, Carmela, as we've worked together a little bit in the past, a couple takeaways out of that is, one, you mentioned labor challenges and simplifying that. So I know you, as well as a lot of the other bakeries, have really focused on that freezer to oven. It used to be in retail, bakers were kind of a dime a dozen, and they always trained their replacement on their way out when it was time to retire. And so those little secrets of proofing, that's such a key element, especially in your wonderful croissants. The skill sets just isn't there anymore. And so I know in the past, I think you focused a lot on that, growing that freezer to oven categories. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, we're always looking how to be ahead of the trends and ahead of technology. And we saw that this was an issue, especially when we service quick service restaurants and different food service concepts. And we saw that labor is diminishing. And that's kind of a trend in the industry as a whole, that getting good people into the bakery industry is challenging, and getting people with baking knowledge is challenging. So we focused on really kind of foolproof products, and also how to address shrink in bakery. As you know, that's also a challenge. And so this kind of FTO product allows for that. You don't have to leave it out overnight the night before and decide how much you're going to bake for the whole day. You can kind of monitor your sales. It's a foolproof strategy of how to bake. So it kind of addresses both of those challenges.
Absolutely. And one other takeaway, and we'll move into our next question. You mentioned social media, and I know Sean does an outstanding job in your marketing team for you, but social media really is driving a lot of those influencers. And you talked about your mango, but limited time offerings we're seeing in our IDDBA trends are becoming pretty important. So it looks like you're seeing a little bit of that as well at Upper Crust.
We are, as things kind of merge and become blurry, as we saw during COVID between retail and food service. You're seeing a lot of those Instagrammable food trends permeate, whether it's in restaurants versus at home. People want to mimic what's happening out in the world or globally, right? The world is becoming such a small place, so people are trying these trends at home, so to speak, seeing the flavors, the taste preferences, the bakery trends that you see globally or in Instagram or in restaurants. People are trying to remodel when they get home. So we're seeing a lot of that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about scaling production and innovation. I mean, that's a constant balancing act as a manufacturer, I know. How do you balance the efficiency and scale with the need for product innovation that you've already touched on?
As I said before, we're always innovating with the end consumer in mind, but also with manufacturing efficiency. So when we meet on a weekly basis at R&D, we're looking at new flavors and new profiles, but we're also looking at how do we see different ingredients that are available on the market to be able to manufacture more efficiently. How do we look at our manufacturing lines to manufacture more efficiently? And that's also part of R&D. Innovation manifests to the creation of new goods, but also with ingredients and manufacturing processes. We also work with our customers and collectively make sure that we're staying on top of any trends in the market, so that we innovate with purpose and in partnership and capitalizing on our manufacturing strength. So we don't make cakes, so we're not innovating in cakes, right? We know what we're good at, and we're going to innovate in the areas that we know we can get scale and that we are good at.
Important.
We're known to our consumers as a valuable innovation supply partner, and that ensures that when we do create new products, we're able to manufacture them efficiently and at scale. And one fun story, as I said before, about the croissant donut, we saw that was a trend. We were able to commercialize that within 6 weeks and manufacture that on large scale, because we know we're good at croissants. We know that we're able to transform that into a commercial product, and people don't always understand that. Like, people are like, oh, I have this friend that made this amazing cookie. But how do you scale that up? How do you manufacture consistently that withstands a cold storage, transportation, supply chain, and then still looks amazing at store, and that every item you produce is consistently produced and looks like the other item? So we understand that challenge, and so when we innovate, we address those challenges.
No question. In retail, we call it speed to shelf. For you folks, it's probably speed to industry, but it's a little harder to turn that around when you're mass producing. Good point.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk a little bit on supply chain and sustainability. You know, rising ingredient costs and supply chain disruptions. How are you ensuring the stability while still prioritizing sustainability that we know is important to our consumers?
So we lead in innovation in ingredients and manufacturing methods as we just talked about. This ensures that we have alternatives in order to always maintain the stability of our supply. So we've had 99% fill rates even during COVID. So we
Wow.
have amazing supply partnerships. We work with our suppliers to ensure that they maintain their supply chains with integrity and sustainability as well. We also focus on sustainability within production. We make sure that our facilities are zero net waste operations as well.
That's
So we're
great.
part of a food ecosystem to make sure that we manufacture sustainably.
That's great. That's awesome. So technology and automation are always important interests of the listeners, but what role does automation and I guess AI, which is I know a pretty wide open topic right now, play in the future, do you think, for large-scale bakery manufacturing?
So people who know us know that we always say we're an engineering company first,
Uh-huh.
and we happen to make bakery products. Our founders are engineers by background. So that's like in our birth DNA is how do we engineer and continue to invest in the latest technology to manufacture bakery products. We're a privately held company, so making those kind of investments in latest manufacturing technology is in our DNA. And also because we're a fairly young company, we're about approaching our 40th year, so that's pretty young in bakery manufacturing. We constantly invest in new equipment as we expand and we grow organically. So we don't buy older factories with old equipment. We're constantly investing and looking at what new equipment is in the market. We travel the world to do that. I'll be in Germany in May at IDDBA looking at that as well.
Yeah. Constantly trying to stay ahead of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, understood. So let's shift gears a little bit. The magical question or the secret sauce is, what do you see as the biggest disruptor or game changer in the bakery manufacturing industry over the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Well, we were just at a meeting with our board in Orlando, and as you know, my favorite topic was talking about tariffs. My favorite loathsome topic, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big disruptor in our industry because the North American supply chain is very integrated, and so if tariffs affect that and disrupt that, that'll be very challenging for manufacturers on both sides of the border, quite frankly. It could lead to huge inflation, high manufacturing costs, instability, manufacturing attrition, as we saw in like 2008, 2009, when the currency exchange between Canada and US was 1-to-1. And also with all of that, then it leads to recessionary consumer choices. So it has the ability to be significantly disruptive on our business. That being said, we always pivot and we always make do and we always recover. And that's what I say to my team. We've been through it all. We're going to ride through this wave as well. And we're looking at ways to mitigate the effects within our manufacturing facilities and the impact on our customers as well. But there also, if we leave that dark cloud aside, we can also look at some positives on our industry, as we just touched upon. Automation and AI integration will be a game changer in our industry. As labor shortages continue to challenge many industry, automation will play a key role in the bakery sector. Robotic systems and AI-driven production lines will streamline operations from mix to quality control. This will enable us to increase efficiency, reduce labor costs, and ensure consistent product quality. Health and wellness trends. As consumers continue to become more health conscious, there will be a rise in demand for healthier baked goods. Digital supply chain and traceability. Digital tools to track origins and quality of ingredients in real time. And lastly, sustainability, as we touched upon, and eco-friendly practices. There's a growing focus on sustainability in food manufacturing. It'll be important to continue to adopt eco-friendly practices in reducing packing waste, transition to more plant-based ingredients while investing in energy-efficient machinery and ovens.
You know, I certainly won't dwell on the first section of our administration's new favorite word, but no question it definitely impacts all sections or segments of our industry. And Of course, the challenge is that's as you know, changing by day. So I certainly don't envy, the manufacturing community or our retailers, and hopefully we can come to some resolution on that in the near future. But I would just highlight a couple things that I think you noted. I think is very important, and that is the labor shortages continue and the labor skill sets continue to be an opportunity, because I think what we've seen on our side, just kind of outside looking in our industry, is a lot of our skill set labor retired, took early retirement, or have kind of passed the torch. And so now we're looking at either folks that are new to our industry, or maybe they're just the younger generation, next gen, that needs a little more of that coaching and skill set, or don't necessarily want to get into the trenches, so to speak. So I think automation can and will continue to be a key priority for us moving forward.
I think so. I think that, as I said before, too, there's been a lot of attrition, and I commend our organization for doing a lot to try to recruit and entice people into joining the industry.
Yeah.
But I see that my kids, they want everything immediately. They don't have the patience to roll the dough, proof it, out overnight. They want whatever they want, and the immediacy. They see the TikTok, they want to recreate that immediately. So it's that immediacy which will, a bunch of the topics that we touched upon, that will be the biggest disruptor. How can we manufacture the key trends quickly? How can we make sure that we have that hunt and that excitement at retail? How can we make sure that we develop products that address labor issues, right? Those are kind of all the culmination of the points that we talked about. That'll be the biggest disruption, I think, in our industry. But I commend our organization for trying to address those.
Absolutely. And I've got a 15-year-old daughter at home as well. And trust me, I full know she's going to be entering the workforce. And it's just a different mindset. It's not a wrong or a right, just a different mindset in their level of patience and their expectations, no doubt.
Yep.
I think one
patience to learn, too. They want to make sure that they're experts. Like after a year, they could be running a company, right? Master bakers, as you know, is years and years of practice and science and art as much as it is science. And you can't just learn every trick in the book for baking in a year.
You mean you can't learn how to be a CEO on ChatGPT or Google?
Not that I know, but hey, maybe that's going to be the next disruptor.
Who knows? One other thing I'd touch on, and then we'll wrap it up and turn it back over to Whitney, is just the health and wellness trends. And, everybody in the bakery category, let's face it, one, it's an impulse buy category at retail. But secondly, that's a tough category, to your point. It's delicious. We love that delicious buttery, ooey gooey croissant. But you don't always think of a croissant in health. But I thought you brought up a couple of good points about alternative flours, reduced sugar content, less salt, the functional ingredients you mentioned. And I think from the retailers listening, it's going to be very important to make sure we call that out, and or from your prepackaged product lines. I don't know if there's plans for that. The secret is to really call that out and tell that story to the consumer, that you can still enjoy a great quality bakery product and still have it as a health conscious purchase.
I think so. We've lived through these trends before, the low carb trend and low gluten trend. And there's definitely a segment of the population that would continue to do that. But for the vast majority of people, and for those living a well-balanced lifestyle, you kind of want to taste everything there is in life. Like food brings people together.
Absolutely.
And so people still want to have really good quality tasting product. And so what we see too, if people are going to indulge, they want that full butter croissant. They don't want to waste kind of their calories on a mediocre product. And we're looking, that's okay to have fruit, right? So we're looking at high fruit, low sugar tasting fillings that we manufacture our fillings ourselves. So when people are going to eat, they want good tasting products. And we've also noticed that, there definitely are recessionary pressures, but there are various economic factors where people are still indulging. If they can't go to the restaurant, but they still spend a little bit more on a higher quality product at retail, there's still the appetite for that.
Absolutely. And in moderation and in some cases, smaller portion sizes, right?
It's about balance. Life is about balance.
You got it. Well, listen, Carmela, before I turn it over to Whitney, I just want to say thank you for joining us. I think it was great and some great insights from your perspective and what your company's doing. And we certainly appreciate you sharing those insights with our listeners. And as always, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, David. I really feel honored that you asked me to have this podcast. I'm really honored to chair the IDDBA board this year. I look forward to seeing everybody in New Orleans in June. And I'm really passionate about this industry. So thanks again for having me on.
Absolutely. Whitney, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
The business, but how it fits into our personal lives. So thank you for that perspective as well. I would remind our listeners that if you really want to hear more from leaders in our industry, you can tune in to IDBA's webinar on Tuesday, April 29th. It is 7 steps to build a significant life and a company that will outlast you. And you know, Carmela, you told an excellent story about how your company started and the passion and the hard work behind that. So in this powerful keynote, Harry T. Jones unveils the 7 crucial steps to successful succession planning that can transform your business legacy. So I don't know, Carmela, you talked about your kids and David, your daughter as well. Maybe one day they'll have the patience and time to really transform business and live out that legacy. And drawing on decades of experience, Harry addresses the fears and challenges that often hinder business owners from planning their exit strategy. So that's big, but you know, we talk about life and how that follows. Carmela, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, in addition to June 1st through 3rd in New Orleans that you mentioned, come join us for the IDBA annual trade show. We'll have over 900 exhibitors there. We have new exhibitors, new companies, and really a global presence. So we invite everyone, if you've not registered, to be sure you register for IDBA 2025 in New Orleans. And also, if you're listening today and you happen to be a new retailer or you haven't had the opportunity to attend IDBA, we invite you to send in an application for a program that we launched this year, which is the opportunity of 15 golden tickets. If you're a leader in the retail industry and you've just not had that chance, go to IDDBA.org, fill out the application. If you meet those requirements, we'll reach back out. It's a great opportunity as we'll pay a lot of those expenses for you, bring you in and give you the full experience of IDDBA this year in New Orleans. So with that, David did a great job. I look forward to continuing this special podcast once a quarter with him. So with that, thank you both again. If anybody has any questions about IDDBA 2025 or IDDBA membership, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.